Welcome to today's Explainer. We're digging into a topic today that completely changed how I look at health, diet, and what it truly means to be well-nourished. For decades, the images we've been fed about poor nutrition have been entirely one-sided. So we're going to dig into the actual science and rebuild our understanding from the ground up, mapping out how the food we eat, or honestly, don't eat, interacts with our bodies. Let's get started.
Okay, let's kick things off with a question that might just surprise you. Can a person be malnourished even if they are overweight? I want you to really stop and think about that for a second. When you hear the word malnutrition, you're probably instantly picturing someone who is starving, right? It's what most of us have been taught. But if we want to truly understand human health, we have to recognize that malnutrition does not simply mean not eating enough. It's actually a much more complex and, frankly, incredibly fascinating biological puzzle.
The actual scientific definition of malnutrition totally flips the script. It is the condition of not getting enough or, and this is the absolutely crucial part, getting too much of a nutrient or nutrients, which then leads to health consequences. This completely shifts our paradigm right out of the gate. Malnutrition is just a big umbrella term for literally any unhealthy nutritional imbalance. It's all about being out of sync with what your body functionally requires to operate at its best. That brings us to Section 1, the two extremes, undernutrition versus overnutrition. Think of malnutrition as a tree with two massive branches. On one side, we have undernutrition. This means not getting enough calories or nutrients. Now, this can happen from a pure lack of food access, sure, but it can also happen from a medical condition where your body just can't absorb what you're eating. Then, on the exact opposite side, we have overnutrition. This happens when you take in way more calories or specific nutrients than your body actually needs on a given day. Consuming extra calories that your body just packs away and stores as fat, that is a form of malnutrition. And surprisingly, even popping massive megadoses of certain vitamins is just as much a form of malnutrition as not having enough food on your plate. Let's zoom in a bit with Section 2, a deep dive into the realities of undernutrition. When people don't get enough overall energy, calories from their food, we see some very specific physical outcomes: wasting, stunting, and underweight. Now, the key takeaway here is that these three forms of energy undernutrition are distinct biological concepts. They aren't just interchangeable buzzwords. Wasting refers to someone who has a critically low weight for their height. Stunting means they have a low height for their age, and that's usually due to chronic, long-term nutrient deprivation. And underweight simply means a low weight for their age. These are highly precise ways healthcare professionals measure the severity of a lack of energy intake. This difference becomes incredibly obvious when we look at a lack of macronutrients, known as protein energy malnutrition, or PEM. Take marasmus, for example. That is severe starvation. The body lacks total energy and literally begins breaking down its own muscle and tissues just to survive, leading to a highly emaciated appearance. Now compare that to kwashiorkor. This happens when someone is actually getting some calories from carbohydrates or fats, but they have a severe critical deficiency in protein. The telltale physical signs are thin limbs but a bloated abdomen. It's a heartbreaking but really striking example of why the balance of our nutrients matters just as much as the amount of food. But hey, undernutrition isn't just about calories or protein. You can be eating plenty of food and still suffer from undernutrition if your diet isn't balanced. This is micronutrient undernutrition, and this is where it hits close to home for a lot of us. Let's talk common culprits. Iron deficiency affects upwards of 25% of people worldwide. That is a quarter of the globe. Calcium is frequently lacking in the diets of teens and older adults. Deficiencies in vitamin A, iodine, vitamin D, and B12 are also incredibly common. And what's really wild is that this isn't always caused by what you put in your mouth. Sometimes diseases like celiac or Crohn's cause malabsorption, which means your digestive system physically cannot break down and absorb the nutrients you're eating. All right, shifting gears to Section 3, overnutrition, the hidden imbalance. Let's talk about energy overnutrition. It really boils down to simple biological math. If you consume more energy than you burn off, your body takes whatever it doesn't need right then and stores it as fat. And it doesn't matter if those extra calories come from fats, carbohydrates, or even protein. Overconsuming highly processed, energy-dense foods, especially when you pair that with a lack of physical activity, is a direct path to being overweight or obese. And as we know, carrying that excess body fat significantly ramps up your risk for things like cardiovascular disease, certain forms of cancer, and type 2 diabetes. Now, just like undernutrition, overnutrition actually has a micronutrient side too.
While energy overnutrition is about excess overall calories, micronutrient overnutrition is about taking in way too much of a specific vitamin or mineral. Now, to be clear, it is extremely rare to get micronutrient overnutrition from food alone. Usually this happens when people take extreme megadoses of dietary supplements. Popping way too many iron pills at once can cause acute poisoning. Taking massive doses of vitamin B6 over several months can cause chronic long-term health issues. So remember, more is definitely not always better when it comes to vitamins. Which brings us to a fascinating concept in Section 4, the double burden of malnutrition. Picture this scenario. A person is consuming enough calories every day, but they develop a severe iron deficiency. You might be sitting there thinking, wait, how can they be malnourished if they're eating enough? Well, this is a classic case of energy adequacy combined with micronutrient undernutrition. They are getting the calories they need to maintain their weight, sure, but the food they are eating is so nutritionally stripped that their bodies are actively starving for specific vital minerals. And this leads us to a massive real-world public health puzzle. Imagine a single household where one family member experiences undernutrition while another experiences obesity. This isn't just hypothetical, guys. This happens all over the world. It's called the double burden of malnutrition. And it shows us exactly why public health experts can't just slap an eat more or eat less message on a population. They have to treat both nutrient deficiency and excess calorie intake at the exact same time, often within the very same community or even the exact same home. Let's wrap things up with Section 5, signs, myths, and prevention. So how do we actually spot these imbalances in everyday life? Well, your body is pretty smart. It's constantly trying to communicate its nutritional status to you. Signs of undernutrition aren't just weight loss. They include overwhelming fatigue, getting sick constantly because your immune system is tanked, poor wound healing, and even hair thinning. On the flip side, overnutrition presents as weight gain, high blood pressure, and inflammation. If you're overdoing it on supplements, you might even see weird signs like cloudy urine, cracked lips, or even experience terrifying heartbeat irregularities. If you or someone you love is experiencing these, it is absolutely a sign to go have a chat with a healthcare provider. Okay, time to crush some stubborn myths once and for all. The biggest takeaway here, body weight alone does not determine your health. As we've discovered, malnutrition does not only mean being thin. An overweight person can absolutely suffer from severe micronutrient undernutrition if they're living on a diet of energy-dense, nutrient-poor junk food. Also, eating enough calories guarantees absolutely nothing about your nutrient levels. And finally, while BMI is a tool for measuring excess body fat, it has some massive limitations, and it for sure doesn't tell us the whole story about a person's internal metabolic health. The really good news here is that most causes of malnutrition can be addressed with highly actionable steps. Step number 1, focus on a balanced diet of whole, nutrient-dense foods. Step number 2, aim for dietary diversity. Don't just eat the exact same 3 things every single day. Get a huge variety of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains in there. Step number 3, swap out those empty junk food calories for healthful, lean proteins and good fats. And step 4, get moving. Regular physical activity is literally the only way to balance the energy equation and prevent those extra calories from converting into excess body fat. Because at the end of the day, true health isn't just about eating more food, and it isn't just about eating less food. It's about achieving the perfect metabolic balance for your unique body. So as you go to prepare your next meal, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. Are you just tracking your calories, or are you actually balancing your nutrients? Really think about it. Thanks for joining me.